Hey, before we get into today's episode, if you're a podcast host or guest, listen up. I've produced over 200 podcast episodes and guested on 50 podcasts just in 2025 alone. And let me tell you, nothing grows your audience or builds trust faster than being in front of the right listeners. That's why I created my podcast tour offer. I'll help you map out your topics, strategize your message, and find you the most aligned podcasts and audiences to get you and your business in front of. So if you've ever thought, I just wish more eyes were on my work, this is your sign. Let's get you on a podcast tour. You can find all the details in the show notes. Just look for podcast tour. Now let's dive into today's episode. I thought I'd do a fun hot girl summer episode, hot girl podcast era. What's in, what's out, what's actually working. If hot girl summer taught us one thing, it is to do what's right for you. Just unbothered, unapologetic. It's time to bring that same energy to podcast guesting because the podcasting space has changed. And if you don't evolve with it, you might wonder why it's not working for you. So first things first is that I want you to know changing your approach is not giving up. A pivot is not admitting you were wrong and you failed. These are serious boss moves. You are a CEO. And there's a difference between going with the tides, just doing whatever feels easy, and making real pivots because you've paid attention, you've learned something, you've decided there's a better way to do it. And that's not being inconsistent. That's not being flaky. That's growth. So what's out? What's in? Out is the spray and pray pitching, especially via cold emails. Email pitches currently have a bad reputation because of the amount that hosts are literally drowning in receiving emails pitching people to be on their shows that have no alignment with the guests that they actually take on their show. They can tell that they have not listened to their show. Sometimes they even spell their name wrong. You can tell they copied and pasted one episode title and then went with that, and it's just not even close. Hosts are getting these all the time. They're throwing these into their spam, into their junk folders. They're not even opening these. So you needed to adjust to this by either sending a DM instead of the email or making yourself stand out. Make sure that it's personalized, specific, value-led pitches. I always teach two things. In the pitch, you need to show you've done your homework, and that means you've spent a little time listening to their show. You can actually speak to what their values and mission are of their show. And two is that you lead with value. That means you present your speaking topics because your speaking topics should be how you would bring value to the show because they're about your expertise. They're about what you do in business. So it's not just I'd love to share my story, or I'd love to be on your show. It's turning into, hey, I want to collaborate with you. I want to come on and not gatekeep. Setting yourself apart from the masses of those email blasts is going to be really important if you're trying to utilize podcast guesting. Another thing that's out is oversharing and just rambling. You can lose a lot of listeners if you just ramble your introduction. If you try to tell your whole life story and you hop all over the place, what's in is being more specific, more strategic, covering a really specific thing for a specific group of people, niching up, that a couple of my online business friends have now called it, and I'm loving that term, niching up instead of the niching down. Like you're up leveling, which means you need to let go of some baggage. You need to let go of, being a fit for everyone because that's not the goal. You're a fit for your ideal client and your ideal customer, not everyone. Having actionable takeaways, being specific to who the episode is for, that's in, and not just chit-chatting, jumping all over on a whim and a prayer on a show, because now you're kind of wasting your time. That type of episode, while it might be fun, I've done them before, they're fun. You get to hang out with that host and you guys might vibe. That's great. There's value in that. But as a whole, to growing your business, to being more strategic, to utilizing the little time that you have, if you're a parent, if you're a caretaker, if you have another job, this is a side hustle, whatever it might be, we all are limited on time. Utilizing this in a strategic way, in a way where you can get specific and serve the exact person that you serve in your paid offers through a podcast episode is in. People want to get on and search for an episode that solves their exact problem. Not like kind of close and maybe sorta and just like hear from you. We're all selfish. We want help and we want to find the exact help for us. That's why specific is in. Another thing that's out, and I think this has been out for a while, but it's that hustle mentality. But in the podcasting space, what's out is get on as many shows as you can and get on as many as possible. More is not always better. And I'm a firm believer in that. One, because you're going to burn yourself the heck out. Guessing on 100 misaligned shows, you're just going to confuse your audience. If you have to share all those shows and put them on your stories and put them in your emails and whatever. And your following and your leads are clicking on these shows, getting over to them. And they're like, why is Candace on this show? This host, she likes this, like she agrees with this host. If they don't follow the same kind of mission or values that you have, that's when you're going to confuse your audience. That's when you're going to lose people because you're all over the place. And so being very aligned and having some strategy and alignment with the shows that you're going to be on. If you're on one show a month that has a strong follow through, their audience is super aligned, people in it match what you do, and those are going to work for you way better than the 100 shows that like kind of sort of maybe matched. Efficiency has always been in, it always will be in, and quality trumps quantity every single time. But I know for a fact there's still people out there saying the way to go is quantity. It's going to work. If you just do enough, it's going to work. I mean, I get it. You've put in enough practice reps. You're probably going to get a lot better at speaking because of that. Again, I mean, to what cost are you constantly giving up time to be able to do this? And anyway, I digress. Another thing that's out is thinking that podcast guessing is just PR. It can be great for exposure. Like you can totally use this. I just had a client. She actually is a powerhouse leader in an MLM. Our angle of how we're presenting her to speak on podcasts is not even going to go back to that network marketing and the product. It's not going to be like, hey, buy my product. But she is a leader and she has built a massive businesses, and she leads a gigantic team and gets her people on her team to be able to do the same thing. So she has leadership, she has team growth, sales, marketing, like all of these skills into that. And so she is using the tour for exposure and to bring people into her brand and her online space, not necessarily like, hey, go buy my, pre-workout, right? So it can be great for exposure, but it's not just, hey, it's just like good for people to see you and like rub elbows with people and what we think of like PR, public relations, but it is a visibility system, right? These episodes are not going to expire. They live out there in the podcast space and they can show up in Google searches. They can show up with other AI tools when people are on them, literally. So treating it like that as not just this like accident or thing that you have to do with your business or you should do, but really getting strategic about it. That's just going to allow the time you spend guessing on these podcasts to be the biggest bang for your buck and time that they can be. I'll leave you with this. Here's what I know after 40 plus hours of content from this podcast, 50 guest appearances in 2025 alone, being on both sides of the mic as a host and a guest. The people getting results from podcast guesting, they're not the ones doing the most. They're the ones doing it the smartest, most strategic. And it's these three things. If you want to get the most out of your podcast guesting experience, not by doing the most, but by being the most strategic and being the smartest. These are the three things. Clarity of your niche speaking topic. Start with that so that you know, one, what you're presenting to hosts, and it ensures that when you get booked, they're going to ask you about that topic and not just random or kind of hope they hit on it. Maybe they won't. So starting with your niche speaking topics, that also helps you find the right shows, which is step 2, making sure the shows are aligned, not just popular shows. It's not going to explode your business when you land some big show. That's not always the audiences that are most locked in, actionable audiences. A lot of times these smaller shows, super aligned shows that match up really well with your audience and their audience of what you do, they're the ones that are action takers. They're the ones that are locked in and like the most faithful listeners. So getting on those super aligned shows are more important than getting on big popular shows. And then this is a system. This is not a sprint. This is something that I think should be ongoing in your visibility strategy. Yes, you could do a huge push for a launch or something like that, but also it just keeps compounding. So if you can keep booking shows and you can keep doing this on a regular basis, this is going to compound and this is going to really create ripple effects in your business. So yes, it's your hot girl podcast era, but hot girls don't just do what's trending, right? They show up strategic. We know our worth. And you and I, we're not going to waste our time in rooms that aren't right for us. That's out. And that's exactly what a podcast tour is designed to do. Go ahead and book yours with me in the show notes. It's linked. Otherwise, you can find me over on Instagram at Candace Dudley. Catch you next week. Hey, before you go, if you've ever wished podcast guesting or hosting felt a little easier, you're going to love this. I started a free podcast matchmaking community where hosts and guests can actually connect, swap shows, and find aligned conversations without all the cold pitching and chaos. It's totally free, it's super fun, and it's growing every day. So whether you're looking to grow your audience, get in front of the right people, or just finally get your message out there, come join us. You can find the link in the show notes to join the community.